Welcome to the We Shine Well podcast, where I have real conversations with thought leaders in wellness to help you live your most vibrant, aligned, and purposeful life. I'm your host, Zoe Kelsey, founder of We Shine Well. Here, we share honest stories, gems of wisdom, and insight to spark clarity and guide your next right step, so you can shine brighter from the inside out. Now let's dive in. I absolutely loved today's conversation. It was such a powerful reminder that self-connection isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you learn and practice. I'm joined by Jacq Gould, founder of Your Inner Babe, who works with women to transform the way they feel about themselves inside and out. Through this life-changing work, she has helped thousands of women come back home to themselves. We talk about intuition, leadership, motherhood, and what it really means to live your truth without force or performance. Let's dive in. Hi, Jacq. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today. I am so grateful to have gotten to know you and be inspired by you and be a bystander just watching the incredible growth that you've had this past year and beyond. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it. I'm excited to connect with you more.
Me too. So just kind of diving into everything that you are about, your business you founded is Your Inner Babe. It's all about like, how can we reconnect with who we truly are, because we live in such a disconnected world and becoming disconnected with ourselves. So can you just take us back to your journey to even starting Your Inner Babe? And
Absolutely.
when you even realized there was that disconnection and connection piece.
Yeah, I mean, I battled with myself all throughout my younger years. I had an eating disorder that followed me to college. I always battled what I now know was a lack of self-connection, but would have said at the time it was confidence, it was lack of self-worth, it was all the symptoms of disconnection. But when I was a junior in college, I hit a rock bottom and I ended up going to an outpatient program and I got amazing clinical help. And when I was in the therapeutic setting, I would feel super supported. I felt like I was learning a ton about myself. But I have this vivid memory of leaving treatment one day and walking back to my apartment in New York City and just realizing still how alone I felt. And it was in that moment that I realized that there was this huge gap between continuing to feel alone and feeling that level of support and accountability that was going to actually make a change. I didn't have anyone who was helping me take action against the awareness that I was developing. And, fast forward years after that, I got healthy and knowing now was still completely disconnected, but working on it. And I ultimately realized after trying to read all these books and trying to find the person that I was searching for, that like, if the gap that I'm talking about was going to be filled, it was going to be me who filled it. So I ultimately became the person that I didn't have. And I have realized that this skill, because I really believe it's a skill, self-connection is a skill that we're just not taught. From the second we're born, we're taught how to connect to other people, be in relationship with other people. And we're just supposed to have this innate knowing of how to do that with ourselves. And unfortunately, we don't. So a lot of people move through life thinking something is like fundamentally wrong with them when nothing is wrong. You have everything you need all in you. It's just about remembering the truth of that and really learning this skill and putting it to practice every single day.
And when you were like going through your eating disorder, what was the root of that disconnection for you at that time?
Well, what I know now is the eating disorder was a symptom, right? It had nothing to do with the food or not with the food or how much I exercised or didn't exercise. It was me not saying something. It was me carrying too much alone. It was me not truly believing that I was enough. There's deeply rooted patterns, this desire for control that I have, right? That I've over time really gotten to the bottom of and gotten to the root of and worked through. But that's what I mean. I think people, until you take the time to dial up the awareness, get to know yourself in that way, but then meet that awareness with action and really start to change things. It's very easy for people to say that something is really wrong. And I believed that. I thought I was broken.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate because I mean,
Mhm.
we've talked about this before. Like, I had anorexia growing up.
Mhm.
I was in and out patient as well. And like,
Mhm.
it isn't the food, it
Yeah.
was just feeling so alone and
Yeah.
disconnected from like who I was to try to be what I thought other people wanted me to be.
100%. I always say, like, I spent so much of my younger years trying to be somebody instead of, like, just being me.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I know where that comes from, right? We all have experienced some level of hurt or trauma or family dynamic that contributes to the patterns that we have or the armor that we wear or the walls that we stand behind. And I think for me, controlling my physical was just armor, right? It was my way of what I believed at the time, like, kept me safe, but obviously it kept me small.
Yeah. And you touched on like symptoms of disconnection.
Mhm.
Like how does it show up when we're disconnected?
Oh my god, it shows up in every single possible way that you really wouldn't think about until you took the time to, like, think about it, right?
Mhm.
Anxiety, overwhelm, when you have that, like, apathetic feeling or you're super unmotivated or small decisions feel really hard or you feel like you're reaching for coping mechanisms that logically, like, are not helping, but it's all you know to do.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of, like, catastrophizing, going worst case scenario, or comparing, or people pleasing. You know, it's if you think about a lot of the patterns that we all have, it's being disconnected is allowing those patterns to lead the show, right, and
Mhm.
run the runway. Like, when we're connected, when we are self connected, though, it's not that those patterns never act up. It's not that they never flare up. It's not that we never feel self doubt ever again. Of course we do, or fear. Of course we do. But it's recognizing when it's flared up, maybe getting a little bit more in the weeds and understanding why or how, but then
Mhm.
doing something about it, right? Taking
Mhm.
care of it. And that's what I say, like, practice self connection in real time, because this is not something that you learn one time and then get to be like, okay, I learned. It's like, no, no, you have to practice and choose it every single day and every single moment.
Mhm. So you use the term self-connection, and I feel like a lot of people use like self-worth,
Mhm.
self-trust. Like, how do these all coincide, and like what does self-connection mean to you and how you share it with your clients?
I kind of feel like I said, self connection is a skill. And I like to think of it as, like, the foundation of everything. So, um, the more connected we are to ourselves, the more we trust ourselves, the more we make promises, keep those promises, and that self trust grows. And then I believe that from trust comes confidence, comes worth.
Mhm.
But I think, I mean, you could think of it even as like a pyramid, but every single thing in our entire life is a reflection of our connection to ourselves. It is the
Mhm.
complete base of everything. So people will say to me, like, why is this breakup? Why do I feel like I've lost everything? Like, why do I feel like, yes, I mean, heartbreak is one of the hardest things to move through, but people will feel like so unbelievably lost after heartbreak or after some
Mhm.
level of loss. And I think no matter who you are and how much work you've done, your heartbroken hurts. But I think if that foundation is not laid prior to the heartbreak, it is going to feel incredibly dysregulating. You're going to feel like you don't even know where to walk next or where to move
Mhm.
next because there was no foundation. If the foundation is there, then it's still going to hurt. It's not going to make you immune to being a human, but
Mhm.
you'll trust yourself to move through it. There will be no doubt in your mind that through the darkness, the light is there.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's like we're living just outsourcing like our
Yeah.
intuition and like our worth in every decision from like, well, what are other people going to think? Like, is this the
Mhm.
right move to like climb the corporate ladder or something that's going to be acceptable? When like
Yeah.
even personally, I found that like when I stop outsourcing, I might have like these ahas that are like not linear in any way or make
Exactly.
sense to anyone, but it ends up unfolding exactly how it's meant to, and even like
Mhm.
better than any linear path or like what I think somebody else would find more acceptable, even though
100%.
there's that like there's that friction internally or even like
Mhm.
externally with like relationships where it's like, how are people going to react? Or like just getting over the hump of like, I'm doing this because this is what in my inner knowing is fully true when I'm connected to myself.
Yeah, and I think wanting or liking validation from other people or reassurance from other people, I think that feeling feels good to anybody. We'd be lying if we said it didn't feel good when someone else was like, I'm proud of you, or like, what you're doing is amazing, or like, you look beautiful. Like, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things, it feels good. We're humans. But
Yep.
there's a difference between needing that, relying on that, living off of that, and just like enjoying it as bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, like, once you learn the skill and you put it into practice, then that does get to be bonus. Everything else
Mm-hmm.
outside of you gets to be bonus. It doesn't get to be what dictates how you feel about yourself or the decisions
Mm-hmm.
that you make.
Mm-hmm. What has been possible for you as you've like even identified this gap and like have reconnected with yourself?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that I am doing this just like everybody I work with every single moment of every single day. Like, this is not, like I said, something that I just learned and now I get to teach. This is something that, like, has evolved because I've evolved, because life evolves, right? Because your connection is ever evolving. And so I think everything that I've ever done in my life or succeeded in any way or any beautiful thing that's happened, I'll say it. I think that stems from my connection to myself. I think,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that is the foundation of everything. So the more connected or the more I've prioritized my connection to myself, the greater my life has become, the more full my life has become. But that doesn't mean that I haven't experienced periods of disconnection, because those are
Mm-hmm.
inevitable. And
Mm-hmm.
those, doesn't matter how much work you've done or who you are, right? Those are going to happen no matter what. I went through, I mean, I've talked about this a ton, but when you and I have talked a little bit about this, it's changed since, but I went through like my whole 2020, end of 24 into 25 through 25. I was on a huge fertility journey to have our second baby. And, it started in August of 24, but then I miscarried in December of 24. And I don't think I realized how far I was drifting from myself and how far away I was becoming from myself throughout that entire thing, until I like had this moment where I was like, I don't even know who I am in this anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely lost myself in it. And I've been doing this for years. So when I
Mm-hmm.
say it's inevitable, it's like, I actually am so grateful for that period of disconnection, because I grew so much. I learned so much. I trust myself now in a way that I've never trusted myself before. And the coolest thing to reflect on that entire experience was, it hurt so bad. And there were moments that were so dark,
Mm-hmm.
really dark, like darker than they had been since I was a junior and at that rock bottom in college. Like,
Yeah.
but there was no doubt for not even 1 second that I wouldn't get through it.
Mm.
Like, I have chills thinking about it, because
Oh, me too.
I literally was like, I'm getting through this. Like, I know that through this is something, whether it's a pregnancy or just like more layer of who I am and more understanding and more depth. Like, there's light at the end of this darkness. And I trusted
Mm-hmm.
myself to get through it. And I would say that is the greatest gift that self connection has ever given me, is
Mm-hmm.
my ability, is my resilience.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for even sharing your journey and all of that too.
Mhm.
And I mean, I do feel like in life we want to have this like contentment and like satisfaction and just to be like seen and heard and loved and like sometimes we have to have those moments of dark to even
Yeah.
see the light. We won't even know what that is unless we like go through it. And it makes
Right.
me also like think of too like when we shift the way we see things, the things we see start to change
Hmm.
because I don't like even you sharing, but personally and so many people feel like it's like, why have I gone through all of this? But
Hmm.
personally, I'm like, I am so grateful for every single thing that I've been through because it's made me realize that, like, I am not. I don't need to fix myself.
Hmm.
I just need to come home to myself.
Yeah, like it's choosing yourself in those moments, like even more so than obviously in the moments when things are going really well and like you're feeling like you're floating and things are in flow and everything's working, like so easy to choose yourself in those moments. Those
Mhm.
moments, though, are not the moments that push you. I mean, yes, everything is forward moving, but those are not the moments that make the huge impact overall. It's choosing
Mhm.
yourself in the moments that it feels really hard to do. And
Yeah.
it's choosing yourself in the moments that you actually want to abandon yourself or you are resentful of yourself or you're experiencing, you know, pattern flare ups or limiting belief flare ups that you're like, I can't believe this is back. Like, I thought I was done with this. Like a lot of what came up for me in the fertility stuff was body image stuff that
Mhm.
I hadn't dealt with that stuff in so long. I was like, really? We're back here? But like,
Mhm.
I think it came up because I was really ready to move through like a total root layer of it that I hadn't moved through before. So, to your point of shifting the lens, like we can sit here all day and say things happen to us, but they don't happen to us. They happen for us. And it's
Mhm.
up to us. It doesn't mean they're fair. And it doesn't mean they don't hurt. And it doesn't mean that it's not hard or dark. It just means that like you get to decide what your life is and you get to decide who you are in your life and you get to decide every single thing that comes towards you is an opportunity. So you get to decide and you get to choose throughout that opportunity how you want the rest to play out and how you want to
Mhm.
take it on and so I could have sat there all day and been like, why are my best friends getting pregnant on their first try, right? Why me? Why this? I didn't for 1 second. I was like, I know this is happening for me. I know it is. And it did. It happened for me in so many different ways. I understand fertility and infertility in a way that I couldn't possibly, I always had compassion, but I couldn't possibly empathize in a way that like I now can, with the people who I work with or who are experiencing something similar. I don't know. I just, not that I have to struggle to do what I do, but I think anything I've moved through has made me even that much better at what I do because it's added another layer to who I am.
Mhm. Yeah. And isn't it funny sometimes how life is when we're like, "Oh, I like took care of that story I was telling myself or I let go of that armor." It's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, there's the body image stuff. Like,
Hmm.
how what is it here to teach me again?"
Yeah, well, like I think that's something I work with people on tremendously is like I'm not going to be the person who sits here and paints this, aspirational picture to you about how you can have this fantasy life that you never doubt yourself or you never fear, you never, want to change the way you look. None of that to me is real. Okay? And I
Mhm.
and I actually don't call myself a coach. I really don't resonate with that because I really do think coaching paints this unrealistic picture to kind of get you to do it. This work isn't sexy, like this is real. Life is real. So I try to
Mhm.
make it real
Yeah.
and or let it be real more than anything else and have people see that this isn't about getting to some like fake endpoint that they've created in their minds. This is about recognizing that you have the power in every single moment to choose. Every single
Mhm.
moment you have a choice. And even if you just choose yourself by 1%, like that makes a huge difference in the end.
Mhm. Yeah. For somebody who is listening that feels currently disconnected with themselves or resonates with like the symptoms that you shared, like what are simple ways that they can start to reconnect with themselves?
It's a great question. I say to people always too, like this doesn't have to be rocket science. This isn't like we're not making something so extreme. The skill is built from really like from micro actions. So I would say the first micro action you can take is audit the way that you're speaking to yourself about yourself.
Mm,
Notice the language that you're choosing. So how often are you saying, I have to do this or I need to do this? I need to meditate. I need to carve out more time for myself. I need to walk. I need, or I have to pick up my journal. I have no. How often are you saying that, right? Because you don't need
mhm.
to do or have to do anything. You get
Yep.
to, you can want to, and if you choose to.
Mhm.
So it sounds like, let's just use this as an example. Okay. I spend a lot of time on my computer during the day, a lot of time working with clients, a lot of time writing, I could sit here and I could say, I have to get up more. I have to walk during the day. I
Mhm.
have to. I need to.
Yeah.
Or I can say, I really want to start getting up more during the day. Like, I really want to walk. Like, I get to make my own schedule. I can go walk,
Mhm.
right? Like, I didn't change anything about myself. I literally just started speaking. And because the language that I chose, my whole demeanor changed and my energy changed. And
Mhm.
so I'm more likely to get up and walk if I'm talking to myself in a way that I would probably talk to someone else. Like, if you were like
Mhm.
to me, Jacq, I just like need to figure this out. I'd be like, no, you don't need to, but you can. Like, you absolutely could if you chose to, right?
Mhm.
I'd speak to you that way. So why wouldn't I speak to myself that way?
Mhm.
Right? If
Mhm.
I sat there and I was like, yeah, you need to, you have to, you'd be like, ew, what's wrong with you? Right?
Yeah.
So audit the way that you're speaking to yourself about yourself. I think the way that we speak to ourselves matters the absolute most. So start there. And then I would say audit the things that you already do in your life. Okay. The things that you probably don't realize could be connection points. So, like, maybe you love your coffee in the morning. Like, I love my coffee in the morning.
Mhm.
Or maybe you really enjoy like your nighttime ritual. Like, I love to put on my red light mask and like dry brush, right? Those are things that I already am going to do no matter what happens throughout my day. So I can put an intention behind it to be moments of connection, even driving with my roof down, right? On a sunny day, getting the sun on my
Mhm.
face. I'm going to do that regardless. So if I just put a little bit of me behind it or the intention, the 1% intention behind it to use that as a connection point, a self connection point, you're going to see very quickly that your day is stacked in those little moments that you could find you in.
Mhm.
And it's not adding more. I'm not telling you to add another tool or like pick up a book or listen to this. I'm just saying pay attention to what you already do and make a list of those things that you really like or that nourish you or make you feel something, right? Make a
Yeah.
list of those things and then do one thing. Actively, intentionally choose to do one of those things every single day, even if you're already going to do it. I already made my coffee today. I know I'm going to put my red light mask on tonight and I know I'm going to dry brush. But if I could find myself in it,
Mhm.
that's a point of connection and it's not just something that I'm going to like autopilot through.
Mhm. Yeah. I like how you talk about them as connection points
Hmm.
versus even self-care, because
Yeah,
it's like, how can we connect with ourselves, not just be like, what is my 3-hour morning routine I'm going to do that somebody on Instagram says that I need to do to have a good day?
totally. And I think that's like the blessing and the curse of social is like you can get inspired by people, you can learn things on social, but you can also get really like fatigued out.
Yeah.
And you can get stuck in a comparison loop about like what so and so's doing and how it's working for them, but like you can't find a way to do that. I've had so many people come to me and be like, I need a morning routine. I'm like, let's figure out why you think that, right?
Mhm.
Or let's talk about what your morning already looks like
Yeah.
and use it. I think there's a difference between like real self care and self care that we see. And I actually think real self care is connecting to yourself,
Mm.
is self connection.
Mm.
So it's empowering to find those moments throughout the day because I think most people are quick to assume they're doing something wrong. And it's very easy for somebody to say, well, I like don't do any of this. I literally I don't even know how to connect to myself. And it's like, I bet you could if you tried. So let's just
Mhm.
like change the lens you're looking at yourself through. First off, let's change the language that you're using because you're already telling yourself you can't even before you tried.
Yeah.
Right. And let's find the things you already do. And people are like shocked at how big of a difference that makes.
Mhm.
A quick difference.
Well, even a big difference is your deck. I did
Mm.
it this morning. I absolutely love
I'm
your
so
deck
happy.
because I feel like, well, so for anybody listening, it's Jack's the reconnection deck, and it's, well, I mean, you can share better
Well, no,
of what
you
it
explain it.
is than
You
I
explain
can.
it from like you use it. So I would love to hear how you use it, and then I will fill in the gaps.
I
Because
mean, I feel
I
like
want you to make the tool work for you.
yes. Okay. Well, I mean, it's like 50 cards. It's I am statements, it's affirmations. And what I personally do is like shuffle the deck, lay it out, like put my hand on my heart, be like, okay, what is meant to come through will? And then I pick 3 cards. And then every time it's like, yep, this is
Mhm.
exactly like what I needed to hear today.
Mhm. So the deck was created, the reconnection deck, I created it intentionally for you to do, like we were talking about how people outsource for answers. I wanted this to be a tool that you went to when you were ready to receive from yourself what you needed in that moment. So, yes, there are affirmations on those cards, but this work is more than affirmations and mantras. On each card is a message, and you're really receiving the message from yourself that like you need in that moment. So I love that how you use it. It's perfect. And yeah, it's magic. It's pretty wild how like you take a couple minutes to put your hands in your heart, close your eyes, and just like ask yourself, like, I'm open. What do I need? And it comes through. And it's just a great reminder that this, again, doesn't have to take so long. It doesn't have to be so extreme, but it's accessible to you whenever you need it.
Mm-hmm. How do you use it?
I mean, very similarly. I love to start my day with it, but I also love to end my day with it. And I mean, I'll use it if I'm feeling overwhelmed or like, and anytime before I pulled before here, like anytime before I'm having a conversation or connecting with someone or running a retreat or a workshop or anything, I like to pull and just see what comes through, even if it's not a message for me and it's for someone I'm about to connect to. But I will put my hands on my heart, I'll shuffle the deck, and I will ask myself quietly in my own mind, like, what am I meant to hear right now? Right? Or what do I need
Mhm.
to know?
Yeah.
And I'll pull one, I like spread it out and I pull wherever I feel called to pull from. I pull one time, I'll read it, put it down, do that same thing again, pull one more time. And then I always check the bottom of the deck, the very last card on the bottom of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that message is the message in your subconscious mind, whether it hits like hard in that moment or not. It can either hit really hard and you're like, oh, that's it, or it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you're, maybe ignoring and not trying to face in that moment, or it's going to
Mm-hmm.
come up for you throughout the day. But
Yeah.
I find personally the bottom of the deck always hits the hardest.
Quick break. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about how wellness isn't built through overhauling our life. It's really the small things we return to every day, the little rituals that help us feel energized, supported, and more like ourselves. And that's why I'm excited about Now's new Start Now initiative, which is all about starting where you are and building simple, sustainable habits that support your wellness journey. What I love about this initiative is that it features incredible women in wellness like Kristen McGee, DJ Blattner, Elise Kopecki, Lindsay Baumgreen, and Olympian Jessie Diggins, all sharing the rituals and habits that help them show up as their best selves. And honestly, it's such a beautiful reminder that wellness doesn't have to feel overwhelming. It starts with consistency. If you know me, you know I love finding easy ways to support my body throughout the day. Right now, I've been taking Now's NMN capsules for cellular energy support, and I always keep their vitamin D3 gummies and vitamin C gummies nearby. They're such an easy, feel-good addition to my routine, especially during busy seasons when I want extra immune and energy support. And bonus, there's an awesome sweepstakes tied to the Start Now campaign worth nearly $5,000 where you can enter for a chance to win a trip to Boston to meet Jessie, plus score wellness products, movement, memberships, and more. You can learn more, enter the sweepstakes, and explore all of Now's products at nowfoods.com/startnow and use code WESHINE for 20% off your order through the end of the year. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Mm, I feel like I took a picture of what ones came up. Let me
Yeah,
see.
let me know.
Um, one card that like comes up pretty much every other day for me is I am magic.
That's my favorite card. I
I
shouldn't even
love
say
it.
that, but that
I
is my
got
favorite card.
I am resilient, I am magic, and I am impressive.
Beautiful. Love.
Hmm.
That's like, I also think too, when you pull three or when you pull two and check the bottom or whatever, it tells a story. Like they always go together. The message is linked in some way. It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, but so it's funny in the beginning, you were like, her community she started You're Her Babe. And this year I'm going through we're going through a big rebrand. Everything is changing. I am like not the person I was in 2016 when I started You're Her Babe.
Mm,
I'm a completely different person, so the brand has changed significantly. But the deck and everything it will remain the reconnection deck. will just take new form. And I created another product that's called Into Me You See. It's actually a game where the reconnection deck
Mm,
was meant for you to connect to yourself. This
yeah.
game is meant for you to bring that same level of connection to others. So you can either do it with one person or you can play in a group. But, I think all relationships are mirrors. And what we crave from other people is intimacy, but really it starts with our level of self honesty and our ability to get intimate with ourselves. So every card has a question on it, a prompt,
Hmm.
and they're deep and they cut deep, but they're amazing. And it's similar to how people like will pull from the reconnection deck and feel like, oh my God, this was like totally meant for me, these cards. I now use it in a workshop series I started to run, and we don't, I don't like place cards with people or anything like that, but it's wild how many times people are like, wait, I literally just was thinking about this before I came here. Like, this is so crazy that this is something I'm going to voice out loud. But that then is like creates a ripple effect. And like you
Hmm.
hear something from somebody else and you're like, oh my God, now I'm not alone. So it
Yeah.
kind of, I do all my work in group. And I do that because I think there's magic in being seen. And what I hoped with this game, Into Me You See, was that it kind of emulated that same level of being seen that my groups do or my retreats do. But without me, obviously, I couldn't be in everybody's home at all times. But it's really, really, really special. I'm excited to, like, I'll give you one of those, but I'm excited for you to get that
Yeah. Well,
because you're such a natural connector.
well, yes, I love too about like everything that you like from personal experience and even like in what you do, there's such like juicy supercharged healing
Yeah.
in group settings.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
can you talk more to like why you do most things in groups?
Yeah. I mean, I literally do everything in group. I see people one on one once you've gone through group or come to retreat, because I think that that's the missing piece. I
Mhm.
think, sure, could this work be done one on one? Of course. But to me, you get to build this foundation in a room full of people who are doing the same. You will inevitably see yourself through the lens of somebody else's experience, and that is medicine. That is
Mhm.
medicine you don't even realize you need until you're experiencing it in the moment and you're like, "Whoa, I didn't even realize that I was suppressing that, or I thought no one else in the whole world had gone through something like this." And it
Mhm.
frees you in a way that, like, we all have these like shackles and like our story, and we are so attached to different aspects of our story because we think it makes us who we are. And then when we see somebody else's experience something similar, it gives us permission to honestly like let it go and really like step into the
Mhm.
truth of who we are.
Yeah.
um and then I think once you've built the foundation in a group setting, of course you could do maintenance of this one on one. That's the point.
Mhm.
But there's something magical about a group setting that is hard to articulate unless you're like in the room experiencing it head on.
Yeah. I think there's so much there that's about being seen and heard. We
Hmm.
get disconnected and we are disconnected because we're outsourcing how we want to be seen and heard and perceived in a way that fits in some kind of a box. But like in that gap where you're helping people come home to themselves, it's like creating that space for them to be seen and heard, it sounds like, by both themselves but others in a way they might not have ever experienced before.
Absolutely. And I think loneliness honestly really comes from us caring too much without sharing on our own.
Mm. Mhm.
We get really lonely when you keep a lot inside.
Yeah.
And listen, in outpatient, I was the person who was like, do not put me in a group. I don't want to hear somebody else's story. I don't want to share mine. I was super anti. So when somebody comes to me and they're like, I don't want to do group, I'm afraid. I'm like, I get it. What I know
Mhm.
now is I didn't want to be seen. So that's why I was so resistant to being in that setting. And I think the idea of being truly seen can get overwhelming, but I do really pride myself on creating really safe spaces that make that honestly feel like safer than not being seen.
Mhm.
Um, you almost end up, and I always say, like, listening is you're going to get just as much out of listening. My job is not to force you into something you're not ready for. I will always meet you exactly where you are. But I always challenge people to share and to open their mouths and bring the darkness to light because, again, you don't even realize what you might say that might ripple into somebody else's healing or what somebody else might then say because of what you said. Like it's amazing.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
How do you guide people through your group coaching? Or is like there a structure, or do you just kind of intuitively flow with who's in the group and what comes up?
It's a great question. I would say I always have a little bit of a structure just because I think for one you have to it's important to start with nervous system regulation. I think if
Mhm.
we're going to connect ourselves, we have to feel safe in our bodies, right?
Yeah.
So we create that safety immediately. No matter if we're on the screen in a group, in a workshop, in a group program, or if we're in person, that is the first thing that we always do. We drop in. But from there, it just depends. I run a group program called Recharge, and that is not structured in the sense of everyone showing up on the screen, and that is intuitively led based on what I feel is on the screen in that moment. That
Mhm.
really is like practicing self connection in real time
Yeah.
because every day is different. But then you come to retreat and there are two-hour workshops a day. And I'm not just like throwing up, I'm not just going in there being like, let's see what's here. Like there's a flow to the whole entire
Yeah.
thing. There's an arc to the entire experience. But what I will never do is just stick to something because that's the plan. If I
Mhm.
am like known for, again, meeting the moment. So there have been retreats where like what is coming up, I'm like, I'm not going here right now. We're gonna meet this first, or we're gonna pivot, or I will my team it likes to be like, oh, she went rogue. But like I want to meet the moment, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I actually feel like I don't have another choice.
Yeah.
So I think that's why this is so effective, is because it's not cookie cutter. It's never one size fits all. It's life is real. So
Mhm.
let's let it all be real.
I mean, that is life itself. How,
Hmm.
like, and that is such like an impactful community and space and container that you're able to just create virtually and in person through this experience. How do you guide people to create that community with their family and their friends in their lives to feel that they aren't going back to a self where they felt disconnected and
It's
they're
a great
living
question.
from that place of connection to self but also them?
I think leading by example, and all you can control other people. So truly all you can do is be proud of the way that you're showing up and take care of yourself in the context of your relationships with other people. Um,
Mhm.
I would say that is what intimacy is, though, right? It is letting somebody into you to see. It's saying, this is my true self. I'm going to show up as my true self. I'm going to give you all of me, not just show up to the level that I've deemed acceptable, but like really, truly all of me. And I think that I keep saying this ripple effect, but I really believe like that creates a space for that ripple effect to exist. I think if
Mhm.
I showed up in my house in my family, like I was going out of town with my family and I showed up to the trip, like avoidant, guarded, in my patterns or in my limiting beliefs, like um, people are going to receive me from that place. And that's no matter what going to have an effect on my relationships, right? Rather than
Mhm.
if I take care of whatever I am responsible for taking care of and I show up authentically myself, like I'm going to receive a more authentic experience from everyone else. I just will. So
Mhm.
it's not, people will say like, well, why do I always have to be the bigger person? And it's like less about that. It's more just being proud of who you are and being
Mhm.
true to who you are and really also knowing that like it's hard. It's really hard and
Mhm.
you might falter and you might misstep, but you can't mess it up. Right? It's all
Mhm.
part of it. So if you're in a situation and it feels really difficult to stay connected to yourself, I think that that's part of it. Like, I think nothing is a mistake. Like, you're meant to learn something more there. You're meant to see another layer there.
Mhm.
But that's also what I hope to do with this game is like allow for those experiences or those connections in that like same level of depth to come into a family dynamic or a friendship dynamic that is harder to facilitate by just one person being authentic, right? This requires everyone to do that. So,
Mhm.
and that from in that level of authenticity, it's like it's impossible to not form a
Mhm.
deeper connection.
Yeah. And you're saying you don't place the cards, but you place your
Never.
magic in everything that you
I
do.
That's sweet. I mean, I pour myself into everything that I do. And I really, I mean, I write everything. So like my process, I guess, if we want to call it that, which sounds like so like silly, but it's the truth, I guess, is like I will meditate and then I will journal. And then it's how the reconnection deck was created was I would meditate and I would journal. And from the journaling, I would like pull the messages that like I felt were not just meant for me. Uh,
Mhm.
and so those are the messages that ended up on the 50 cards. And
Mhm.
so into me, you see the questions similarly, right? Like what came up for me while I was meditating. Oh, that's such an interesting thought. Okay, let me write it down. And then I kind of formulated the game based on that.
Yeah.
And so I'm pouring myself into it, but no, I'm not. There's no voodoo in it. It's just like if you come to it, you're meant for it. It's gonna find you no matter what.
Mhm. Are there any cards in your new game or in this deck that, like, most resonate with you? I know you mentioned one is the magic card.
I am magic. I love that card so much. I'm trying to think. There's some like deep questions just about like what parts of me do I still what parts of me in Intimacy, you see there's a question that's like what parts of me do I still hide, and like what parts
Mhm.
of me do I wish people saw. I just think like I've really realized over the last year like how much performance, how big of a pattern performance was for me, and not obviously intentionally, but just as protection. And so then when I was going through all the fertility stuff and really dark and just like couldn't perform anymore, like, I mean, you know, I was a performer my whole life. I did theater. I thought that's what I went to college for. I thought I was going to do Broadway. And then I like walked
Mhm.
away from that dream because I didn't believe in myself. So that's a part of me. And honestly, something that helps me in a lot of ways. But I also see now that it was like my shield and it was my
Mhm.
protector. And I would hide through playing other characters. Like it was my like way to survive in that time.
Mhm.
And so if I'm not like paying attention, I will like I will protect myself through performance. And so I realized when I couldn't perform anymore, like I had to just be me, right? Like people
Mhm.
were just truly getting my clients, like my family, Instagram, like everyone was just really getting like the raw me because I didn't have the energy to do anything else.
Mhm.
And it felt so much better, right? Like,
Mhm.
and so I think all the questions in the Intimacy game that kind of force you to, or challenge you rather, lovingly force, challenge you to take off the mask,
Mhm.
resonate the most with me for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. And you talked about, like, being seen and even, like, social media.
Mhm.
How does social media play a role, like, for you, and even how do you guide people to look to social media not as just a way to numb out,
Mhm.
but have a, like, responsible habit in a way that's empowering versus depleting?
Well, I think with anything, you know, when you are using it in a productive way versus, or a supportive way versus an unsupportive way. Um, I had a client last night talk about in Recharge how like she's like been doom scrolling and then she feels like shit that she's been doom scrolling. And so like we're talking about breaking that pattern. But I think we reach for those things when we're not being honest with ourselves about how we feel, or we're afraid to feel something, or we've deemed what's coming up for us wrong. So we want to avoid it at all costs. At least for me, and how I show up on social is I really try to just create the safest, most real place that I can on my platform. Um, but I have such a love hate relationship with social media, if we're being like 100% real. I
Mhm.
like get aversions from it for periods of time where like I really I don't really consume Instagram. I use it
Mhm.
to connect and then I leave
Mhm.
because it just doesn't make me feel like me, right?
Mhm.
I notice all the things that come up and I think that that's okay.
Mhm.
I think because we live in a world where it's such a like it's so relevant,
Yeah.
it can be really easy for people to be like, well, something, why can't I scroll and not compare? Or like, well, so and so could just like be on the app. Like, I should be on the app. It's like, no, what works for you? Right. Like,
Mhm.
getting truly honest about that and like accepting it because there's a level of acceptance that we have to have in order to make any sort of change or shift. So if I want to feel better, and I don't accept the reality of how I feel, like, how am I going to feel better?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't even know if that answers your question.
N
That's just the
no,
truth.
it does. And don't you, like, not go on social each weekend too?
I take myself off social. Yeah. I
Mhm.
started doing these like dark couple days because um I do use it obviously for work, and I use it to create the space that I want to create on there and communicate the things that I think are important to communicate. But I don't want the pressure. Like, I've never resonated with like influencer, you know.
Mhm.
I'm here to make an impact. So like, I think in order to make the impact I want to make, I have to take care of myself to the level that I'm encouraging and challenging other people to do. And so
Mhm.
to me, taking care of myself is taking time off and like
Mhm.
unapologetically being like, bye, I'm gonna be with my family. And like, it feels
Mhm.
so good. I like love when Friday afternoons come. I'm like, okay, see ya.
Well, and it sounds
Mm,
like because you also have that anchor in that self-connection and trusting yourself. You're like, "My
totally.
worth is not defined by how other people perceive me, react. I'm gonna show up with who I am because that's who you are."
Yeah. And I think that came with like, that's come with effort, time, and consistency. Like, I
Mhm.
didn't always feel that way. I wasn't always the person who could take 2 days off or who didn't think, like, I
Mhm.
never want to paint this unrealistic picture. Like, this level of comfortability with like who I am has come after years and years of practice, right?
Mhm.
I'm still getting, I could still be more comfortable. And I know that that's coming, but that's because I'm relentless. So like,
Mhm.
the effort that you put in every day doesn't have to be so extreme, but this connection requires effort every day. No
Mhm.
doubt about that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd strive to do.
Yeah. Well, and as like you've become a mom too, how has that deepened your trust with yourself and how you show up?
I mean, I think it's definitely revved up my intuition. Like, I trust myself as her mom implicitly. But it's also just so unbelievable to witness self connection being established like in real time outside of me. Like, I watch her sense of
Mhm.
self develop every day, and I see in her patterns that I don't have, but then I see in her not having things that I do have, like she's like the
Mhm.
anti people pleaser. Like, this girl's like has no problem saying, no, I'm good, or like,
Mhm.
I'm like, your friends are, whatever. And she's like, okay, like super secure.
Mhm.
And I just wasn't that person. So it's really amazing to sort of see how, to just see her become more her every day,
Mhm.
and to be able to foster that too. And
Mhm.
knowing that like I have that impact, or I can make that imprint by way of how I treat myself, like, it's the most motivating thing ever.
Mhm. Doing the work that you do, how do you feel like you infuse that into how you raise her?
Totally. Yeah. Because this work is like I said, this is me. Like, this is a part of me at all times in every single moment. So, yeah, of course, the conversations that we have, or like the conversations I, like, will encourage her to have with herself. Like, it's all me practicing with her the way that I practice with other people. It's just, what's really cool is I say, like, we're never taught this skill at a young age. We're just supposed to innately know, but I get to teach her this at a young age. So I'm just so excited
Mhm.
to see how her life, I mean, she's going to have her struggles and her, I mean, that I can't,
Yeah.
I don't, no, nothing I do is going to stop that, but she's also going to be better for it in the end. And I know that.
Mhm.
So I don't even want to take that away from her. But what she will have, if we go back to like the beginning of this conversation, we talked about laying that foundation. And laying that foundation doesn't mean you don't experience hardship or life
Yeah.
doesn't happen. It just means that when it's happening, you trust yourself in a way that like you didn't know how to trust yourself before. And so
Mhm.
uh, there's no doubt in my mind that like through the hardship she's inevitably going to experience, she's going to have this foundation already. So it's really
Mhm.
cool. It's almost like trippy, honestly. It's like, whoa, this is wild.
Uh-huh. It's like you are literally molding her.
Hmm.
Well, I
Yeah, but
mean,
I'm like encouraging her mold, right?
yes. Yes.
Yeah. I like to think of it as imprinting. Like, I'm imprinting on her things that like I so wish that I had. And that's not
Mhm.
because my parents didn't want to. It's because they did the best that they could with what they had. I'm
Yeah.
just so grateful that I have what I have now going through the life that I experienced.
Mhm. And with that foundation as well, it makes me think about like this term of like bounce back rate too.
Mhm.
Is like when we have if we do have that strong foundation of connection and it's like, oh okay, that body image thing is coming up or this old story is coming up, how can I like what is that rate of being like, okay, I've identified that, what is the truth? And how can I like move on to get back to that connection of self?
Yeah, that's what I talk about as the recovery, right?
Mm,
We're never going to get to this point where we don't feel those feelings or hear those patterns or like the narrative isn't there. Like that's not possible. But it's, you know, we have the moments where those old things flare up and we can catch it in the moment, disrupt it, and then recover. That's the
mhm.
goal,
Yeah.
right? That's what we want. Is we want maybe something took you 3 years to recover from. Okay, so then you start to build this connection, you start to practice. Okay, maybe the next time it flares up, it takes you 3 months. Okay,
Mhm,
and after that, maybe the next time it comes up, it takes you 3 weeks. And then the next time,
mhm,
3 days, 3 hours, right? Like 3 minutes. Like it's possible to shorten the duration of how long these things affect us. That's what we're aiming for,
mhm.
not
Yeah,
perfection.
yeah. And how do you see, because at your retreats, like, you literally take people's phones away from them
Mhm.
and to reconnect with themselves. How do you see, like, creating space to not just be, like, having everything blocked off or, like, zoned in to, like, technology all of the time to be able to have that connection? Because I feel like so
Well, I
much
think
we
that yeah.
yeah.
No, no, I'm agreeing with you. I think there's really no obviously like we all need our phones. We all need to be able to be
Yep.
reach or to be able to reach the people we need. Um Unfortunately, but it's the truth. It's the world we live in. And I think like my goal in 3 days is to have people learn this skill, right? Like to like establish the skill in 3 days in an intense way and so that they leave feeling like they can continue. Um, and in order to do that, I think taking away their devices kind of makes it inevitable because you're really there. You're not half
Mhm,
in, half out. You're not, ooh, this feels hard, so I'm going to numb out. You're like, I have me and I have what's coming up for me and I have these people around me to support me and that's it. And
mhm,
that's scary, but it's like it creates an opportunity for real reconnection, not surface
mhm.
level reconnection, like real reconnection.
Yeah. And I'm sure people walk away as new friends because there's just
Oh
like
yeah.
depth and we are here together.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's like one of the greatest takeaways. Or like what I hear people say all the time is like, because this cuts so deep, so fast in a safe way, um, or in a way that makes you want to be seen, there's no BS. Like these relationships are real from the jump because you haven't
Mhm,
we don't it's not like we're talking about like what you do for a living or like what'd you buy on Revolve last night. Like all fine conversations, but they're not going to really connect you to someone, like really truly bond you to someone. Um and so it's like really beautiful to witness, honestly. It's one of the greatest gifts is to like step back when the room is like is in session and I'm like looking around and I'm like it's happening. Like it's
mhm,
really happening. It's really
mhm.
cool.
Well, it's beautiful because it sounds like you are exactly where you are meant to
I
be
believe that.
this guide, to create this space for other people to come back to themselves, to live from that place of reconnection. Because imagine if we had a world where there were so many more women and people who were connected with themselves. Like, what
Mhm.
would that look like, especially in
No,
the like crazy world right now?
I say it all the time and I people think I'm joking, but I'm not. Like I'm here to change the world. And
Mm-hmm.
and not because this has anything to do with me, but
Yeah.
because to your point, if we lived in a world where everyone had this foundation with themselves and everyone was actively choosing that in the moment, right? Like it would be a different place. It just would. You can't
Mm-hmm.
argue that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a mission.
Well, I'm here for it. I need to
Mm,
sign up for one of your retreats. I don't
I
need
would
to.
love
I
you to
want
come.
to. I'll
Yes,
reframe
you
myself.
real time. Look at that. Exactly. Love. Yes.
Um, so as we kind of wrap up, if there's one truth or reminder you want every listener to carry with them from this conversation, what would it be?
Everything you need is all in you.
Mm,
You don't need to add more, do less. It's all in you. And
mm,
trust me, you create an opportunity to learn the skill and to really truly feel that and see that, everything can change.
mm. Beautiful. And where can our community connect with you, experience your work, and continue this work of self-connection?
You can find me at Jacq Gould. That is my Instagram. That is where I live. Currently, right now, it's yourinnerbabe.com. That's where you will be able to see all the offerings. Um, Depending on when this comes out, there's a retreat in April that has a few spots left, which is really exciting. And there will be another group of recharge that runs right before that. And I am set to do a few things in different other places throughout the year. So stay tuned, come find me, and let's connect.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation.
Thank
I
you
feel
for
like
having
my
me.
mind is just going with ahas and where I need more reconnection in my
Mm,
life. So thank
Want
you.
more.
You're such a gift.
Thank you. You're a gift. I appreciate you having me.
Of course.
Mhm.
Thank you for tuning in to the We Shine Well podcast. If today's conversation lit something up in you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend, leave us a review, and dive deeper each week by subscribing to our Substack in the show notes to interact with guests and discover more resources to expand you. Until next time, keep trusting your right next step and keep shining, my friend.